And that is fueling a lot of the growth of Visma for the last 10, 15 years. And I think it will be continuing to fuel our growth the next 10, 15 years as well.
Welcome to the Voice of Visma podcast, where the heartbeat of our community comes to life. Join us as we chat with Visma leaders and colleagues, sharing their stories, industry insights, and valuable career lessons.
Hi, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Voice of Visma podcast. I'm your host Johan, and today we have a really exciting episode ahead of us. Today, I am sitting down with Øystein Moan, who is our chair of the board and the former CEO of Visma. And today we will talk about the Visma history, and hopefully we will get some secret stories out from him. Thank you so much for being here, Øystein. How are you?
Thank you, Johan. Very good.
Nice to hear. Welcome to the Voice of Visma studio.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, you have been a part of Visma since basically from the beginning. Can you tell us a little bit about how it was like back then?
Yeah, I became the CEO in 97.
97.
Yeah, so it's 27 years now.
Yeah.
And in those days, Visma was in financial trouble. In the summer of 97, they were almost in bankruptcy, but they were able to recover and get refinanced, and I came in as the CEO to help turning the business around.
Okay. And which year did Visma start? How early were you on the train?
Well, some pieces of Visma started already back in 1980, but in 96.
Okay.
3 smaller Norwegian software companies were merged together and created Visma.
Mm-hmm.
And that merger seems to be smart from a financial point of view, but was not very smart operationally.
Okay.
And that led to the financial troubles that they got into pretty fast, actually.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and you've been here since then?
I was the CEO then from 97 till 20, when Merete took over, and then I've been the chair of the board actually since 2019.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so you've been a part of Visma since pretty much the beginning. Yeah, great. Can you share some stories? I know there is a lot, but do you have anything that came up on your mind from your time as the CEO, as most people in Visma don't know about?
Yeah, I thought a little about the current strategy and structure of Visma, which is quite unusual, being so many different companies which are operating quite independently, well, with a lot of strong and good business control and so on, but a lot more independency, and we're not merging everything together in one legal entity. And this strategy is good for growth, for preserving entrepreneurship, for being adapted to the local market, to make the entrepreneurs that have started companies thriving and continue to develop the business inside Visma.
Yeah.
So this is today a very, smart strategy, which I think also Merete has really taken further.
Mm.
But the rationale for that strategy was very different from what it is today.
Yeah, okay.
The reason is in 97, Visma was in such a bad financial shape. So I thought it was best to keep the businesses in different companies, so that you can let 1 or 2 companies go bankrupt without dragging the rest down. So it was to create sort of firewalls between the different businesses. And actually, we also bankrupted a couple of businesses my first month in Visma.
Wow.
So it was to insulate the good business from the bad business.
Okay.
But nowadays it has developed, and now it's becoming a very important strategy for growth.
Yeah.
But in those days, it was to protect against financial disaster.
Okay. Yeah, I see. Yeah, I don't recognize that since I've started here. So I can imagine we have worked it out, and now we have a better strategy.
Yeah, today it's a good strategy, and Visma has been profitable since 98. So the firewall thing is not such important anymore.
No.
But
We learned.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. And since we talk about the beginning of Visma, can you share some unexpected mishaps from the very beginning of your time at Visma?
Yeah, if you really roll back to October 97 when I started, one of the first week I found Visma Americas with 20 people in somewhere in the United States. No products, no customers, no revenue. So we just bankrupted it and shut it into Chapter 11 in the US. And that was that.
Wow.
And no negative effects except we lost a lot of expenses.
Did you find out what it was, which type of company it was?
They were supposed to be some kind of consulting company, I think, but that was very unclear what they were going to do.
Yeah.
So there were 20 people with quite high salaries and no ideas what they were doing.
That's
so
strange.
that was easier to shut down, of course.
Yeah. I wonder what have happened if you hadn't shut it down.
I can understand why they let that kind of business happen, but it was not a business really.
No, it sounds a bit strange. Yeah. Great. And since 97, it's been over 20 years, over 25 years. And you talked about the growth of Visma, and we are much bigger today. And can you tell us a little bit about that journey? How have we managed to grow as much as we have?
Well, we were on the stock exchange, and if you're a public company, you sort of either grow or you're getting eaten by other people. And we started pretty early acquiring competitors. We sold a very big part of Visma in year 2000. We sold 80% of the company, which was a maritime software business, not the ERP at all, actually. Okay. But we got a lot of money for that, and we used that money to start to buy local competitors here in the Nordics. But I must say the most exciting growth phase of Visma in many ways started around 2009-10, and we are still in it. That is the transition to cloud computing.
Yeah.
And Visma will probably have transition out of all their Windows on-premises product next 3-4 years.
Yeah.
It's not that much left, but the market will probably not be completely finished before 2040. So we talk about 30 years of transition, and as a cloud computing company, you take responsibility for so much more of the value chain. You're also responsible for the hosting and operation of the software, not just developing it. And with cloud computing, you can also monitor much better what customers like to use, what they are successful with, what are not working. So you can all the time adjust the software, and it's so easier to introduce new products, new modules, and sell more or less in the app. So there's so much more growth opportunities.
Yeah.
And people don't like to change financial systems.
No.
But when there are big tech changes, that's when the transition is happening.
Yeah.
And that is fueling a lot of the growth of Visma for the last 10-15 years, and I think it will be continuing to fuel our growth the next 10-15 years as well.
Yeah, I can imagine. And would you say that change started in 2010 or something?
Well, in reality, the market is started maybe 10 years earlier, but we were a little slow.
Yeah.
But luckily, a lot of others have been much slower. So we should have started a little earlier, but at least we started in time, I would say.
Do you have some specific memory that you can share with us about the growth? Maybe some company we acquired, or
Yeah, we found out pretty early that doing this purely organically was very difficult. So acquisitions has been very important for our transition to cloud computing. So we have made a lot of acquisitions in my time, and that has continued now under the rule of Merete as well, and even more. But I remember particularly one interesting acquisition we made in 2011, NetVisor, which is a leading cloud accounting system in Finland, and Visma Solution is quite a big company in Visma now. I would think 150-160 million euros in revenue or something. But it was owned by two brothers that was known to be very difficult. A lot of people had tried to buy NetVisor, but they'd never been successful. The price was not right or didn't happen. But eventually we got those brothers to come over to Oslo. And sitting down and of course starting a little about weather and ice hockey and things like that. But after 5 minutes, I asked them, "What does it take to buy a Netvisor?" And the oldest brother said, 50 million euros.
Okay.
And I said, "Okay."
You did?
And we shook hands there and then.
Wow.
After 5 minutes.
Wow.
So it
That's
was
amazing.
And we had of course thought quite a lot about it before, but I felt that this was the time to just do it. It was sort of too expensive, at least according to those days standards, but it has shown to be a very good acquisition for us.
Yeah, you're happy that
absolutely.
You
Yeah.
Well, great. I can imagine that not every acquisition is that easy, but that's cool.
No, some deals. I think Sindre and the team closed a deal with the company Akos last year, and I think we were and saw them first time in 2012.
Okay.
So that's been taking over 10 years.
Yeah, that's cool. Amazing. And I know you were a part of how we ended up in what it was called back then, the Team Jumbo Visma sponsorship. It's a rumor in Sweden that it's a quite cool story, how we ended up in that. Can you tell us how we ended up in that sponsorship?
Yeah, we had started to expand in Europe, particularly in the Netherlands, and we wanted to gradually have a pan-European expansion, but Visma was absolutely unknown. And we were thinking, how can we start marketing, sponsoring to little by little grow our brand name? And I've been a little interested in cycling, not as a cyclist really, but watching Tour de France and things like that. And I've seen the kind of enthusiasm about cycling in Europe. So that was a little of the background. But then we were at the customers meeting with Jumbo, the large Dutch food retailer. And one of our largest customers in the Netherlands in those days. And they presented proudly the sponsorship of the cycling team Lotto NL Jumbo, which were on the way up as a Dutch cycling team. But they said, yesterday they Lotto told us that they were going to stop sponsoring, and Jumbo, we are ready to become the main sponsor, but we need another sponsor. And I was thinking about it for around 2 seconds, and again I said, I take it. A fast decision, but of course we have been thinking about that this could be a good way of building up the brand name. And then we negotiated for around 5 weeks and ended up then with the team Jumbo Visma, which has been, I would say, quite a successful sponsorship, particularly up to last year, where the team won all the 3 Grand Tours, and we also won Tour de France both last year and the year before. And with the Netflix series, the next season is coming, I think, 10th of June now.
Yeah.
About last year's Tour de France.
Yeah.
So I think you cannot always win in cycling, but your name is there, and now it's called Visma Lease a Bike, as Jumbo has stopped sponsoring, and we are taking over as the main sponsor.
Yeah.
So the Visma name becoming quite well known all over Europe, and actually it's a global sport. People are following it everywhere.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's amazing, and it's super fun that we still want to be a part of that journey, I believe, and now are the first title sponsor, definitely. And I don't know if you have seen it, but I've talked with Anna-Grete in one of the episodes. So if you haven't listened to that one, you can dive deeper into the team Visma Lease a Bike sponsorship in that Voice of Visma episode. Okay, but now I've talked a little about our success and some acquisitions that have been good and our sponsorships. Do you have some mistakes that has happened over your years here that you could share with us that maybe turned out to be a blessing that you thought was going to be a mistake?
Yeah, that's a hard question, actually. I had quite some mistakes that continue to be mistakes all the time and never become blessings. Of course, we have a few of those.
Yeah.
And some things we thought were smart that was not so smart in the long run. But like with the Netvisor acquisition, we were criticized for some of the acquisitions overpaying. And we paid what looked like very high prices for Netvisor in 11, for economic. I believe that was in 15. The board was very critical of me when we acquired TripleText, I remember. Did it very fast at what seemed to be a high price. So a lot of these cloud stars we have now, we bought them at the right time at prices that looked high, but we saw the growth power in these companies. And the acquisitions were not mistakes. They were maybe criticized by some shareholders and some people at the board, but those have become very successful companies in Visma today.
Amazing. If you could rewind the time, what would you do differently when you started here or during your years as the CEO?
Well, as a business manager, I remember we acquired in year 2000 what was the first cloud accounting software in Norway. It was, of course, early days, but it was a working accounting system and with some hundreds of customers. But maybe I should say I didn't understood really what this was.
No.
So it hasn't enough features, it was not profitable enough. So after a year we shut it down.
Okay.
That was a mistake.
Yeah, we could have been the first one.
Yeah, that was sort of way before TripleText started or NetVisor or even before economics started. This was early.
Yeah.
And if we had understood what this was, that could have been quite successful.
Yeah.
But well, we have prevailed and managed anyway, but that was a mistake. And if you are talking about things I would have done differently if I know what I know now, I would have bought 10,000 bitcoins for $600 in 2010, because that would have been $600 million now.
Yeah.
And I would have bought Google for $100 a share when it was launched in 2004. And I would have bought NVIDIA for $8 in 2016.
Wow.
They are now worth $1,200. So my list of what I should have done.
It's long.
It's long, actually.
Yeah. I can imagine. I would sign up for Bitcoin as well. Yeah. Awesome. Today, you are our chairman of the board. What does a typical day for you look like, or how does that role fit you?
I'm a sort of executive chair, means that I'm a little more involved in the business than maybe a normal chair. Some chair people are just presiding the board meeting, reading the agenda and make sure that we are on time and have no engagement whatsoever in business. I've seen a lot of those chair people. But I am lucky enough to be allowed to be a little more involved. I'm active in 3 of the daughter companies in the Netherlands. I'm quite often involved in and consulted in the M&A. And Merete and I, we are speaking on a weekly or maybe 2-3 times a week actually, and discussing strategy. So there's no doubt that Merete is running the business now, but it's nice to be consulted and still be able to watch from the inside how this company is developing.
Yeah, cool.
So I'm very thankful for that, actually.
Yeah, amazing. Would you say you miss the CEO position, or are you happy where you are now?
Of course, some days you do.
Yeah.
But I know how hard job it is, actually. And when you've been a CEO for 23 years, as I had been, and now I'm in the mid-60s, it's maybe good that I'm not a CEO anymore, but I'm very thankful that I now can still participate and be part of the team, and help out in a few areas. It's when you've been CEO for a long time and then suddenly stop completely, it can be quite distressing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah,
quite empty. Perhaps.
Quite empty. Yeah. So I think I'm very lucky to have this situation, and I'm very happy that we have now a new CEO that is really driving the company forward in a very good way.
Yeah, definitely. And we're really happy that we have you on board still. Yeah, amazing. We are closing our ending here, but I want to ask you, Øystein, we have our motto, Champions of Business Software. What would you say that means to you?
I think it means that we are delivering the best value for money to a large number of customers. the software that really are solving their problems and fulfilling their needs and make them more efficient.
Yeah.
Also a software that is technological on the forefront, because that means that the software can live for years and even decades, and that we are all the time pushing the technology and are on the leading edge, means that some of the software we are delivering to the customers today as cloud solutions, most likely they will also live in 2050. And it's as long as you keep the software updated, both on fulfilling the customer's need and on the tech, we don't know how long it can live.
No.
And it's a pain for customers to change financial systems.
Yeah.
So I think if we can deliver the best software, and I think in many ways our software it's very good value for money.
Yeah.
It's not very expensive compared to what we are delivering. Then customers can be long-term happy customers of Visma, and I think we are then the champions of software in Europe. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Thank you so much, Øystein, for being here today at the Voice of Visma studio. I'm really happy for our conversation here. And that brings us to an end of another episode of the Voice of Visma studio. We really hope you enjoyed this session with us. Stay tuned for another episode. Until then, have it the best. Bye.